So Singapore was a bit of a disaster for Mercedes, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah,
I hadn't
it was pretty
noticed.
bad. It was pretty
Oh
bad.
yeah, it was
And
epic order that too.
it was pretty rubbish. And there was Lewis starting on soft tires at the start when everybody else was on mediums. And then he sunk like a stone as you'd expect. Ammar, is this sabotage?
Oh,
So this morning, a video came up on Twitter from what looked like a Petronas event, where Lewis and George were on the stage, and Lewis was explaining in a bit of detail his point of view about the strategy that Mercedes employed in Singapore. And I think the choicest bit of it is this, right? Ready for this? So he says, I battled as hard as I could to fight to go on the medium tyre, but the team continued to suggest I start on the soft. And then when they took the tyre blankets off and everyone was on mediums, I was like, dot, dot, dot. I.e., they'd had their standard meetings, both the night before and in the on the morning of the race. Lewis had said, I want to be on the mediums. His team had told him, no, 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 you should be on the softs. There'd been a bit of an argument, a bit of a head to head, and the team had essentially told Lewis, "This is what you're going to do. This is kind of what I'm getting from this." And the end result of it was that Lewis started on softs, which patently was a dumb idea, and none of the stuff that was meant to happen happened. And we've talked about Lewis being sabotaged a few months ago, and on it we said, look, all of the stuff that everyone keeps coming up to use as evidence for Lewis being sabotaged is a load of nonsense, right? But have we reached a point here that that you know they've actively put their lead driver on a suboptimal aggressive strategy and he's ended up behind George? Why is this not because they just wanted George to be in front at the end of the race?
oh my God, Shez. This is literally giving me a headache. I mean, the first thing I want to say is all y'all Lewis Hamilton fans are just, my goodness, you guys are. I'm sitting up here. I'm hoping that the season does not end because in 6 races time, Lewis will be at Ferrari and I will have to deal with all of this next year because all of y'all are going to tell me that, oh, Lewis got sabotaged because Ferrari wanted Leclerc to win, yada, yada, yada. That's all I can think of selfishly, right? So let me start by saying that all of you, man, just take a chill pill. Even if they were sabotaging him, so what? Who cares? He's not in a championship fight. Like, what are you doing? Who cares? He's the outgoing driver. If I were Toto Wolff, I would be prioritizing George Russell, and maybe they did that. Okay,
There's a
whatever, man.
difference between prioritizing and actively
All
putting
right,
your lead
sabotaging.
driver on a
Take,
suboptimal
okay,
strategy, though.
take whatever you want to do with that, even if that's the truth. I mean, this is an extreme, right? Let's just assume it's true. So what? He's leaving Mercedes. It's over. What is the big
Because
deal?
every point matters, man.
Oh yeah,
Like
every point
ultimately,
matters for what? For them to
because
finish
ultimately
P4
he's
in
still
this
gonna want to.
constructors?
Well, because ultimately he's still gonna want to
What,
be
finish in the top five for this season?
he's still gonna want to beat his
Really,
teammate, isn't
Shaz?
he?
Come on,
He's still
you're not
he's
serious with
absolutely
this.
gonna want
I
to
you
beat his
know.
teammate.
Okay.
And okay,
He absolutely
let's
wants to
step
beat
away
his
from
teammate.
let's just step away from the he is being sabotaged argument and is it okay for him to be sabotaged? Just have a think about that for a second. Are you telling me that if Carlos Sainz, for example, was being sabotaged by Ferrari
Well,
right now
sabotage
to
is your
finish
word.
behind?
No, no,
No, no,
no, no, no,
wait.
no, no.
No, no, don't do that. You just said if he is being sabotaged, why is that a problem? Well, you answer me that question. Would it be okay if Ferrari was sabotaging Carlos Sainz right now? That would be
Okay,
okay to you, would it?
okay. Let's clarify one thing. The word sabotage is being used by those of you who are Lewis
You're
Hamilton cult
obfuscating.
fans. Okay, and maybe that's not you, Shez. This is why it cannot apply to anywhere else. It does not apply anywhere else because no fan base is sitting up here saying Carlos Sainz got sabotaged. Okay,
Correct.
every at most
Correct.
we're at most those people are going to complain about, oh my God, they're preferring Charles, blah blah blah. Okay, that's it, and we're all going about our way. It's Lewis Hamilton cultish fans that are creating all of this. The
Yeah,
word
but
sabotage is
that's
being thrown out by them. Tell me, name another situation in where that's happening. Nowhere.
I'm not going to do that because what you've done is you've said sabotage and then said it doesn't matter that the team is sabotaging their driver. If
Okay.
nothing else, that's
Let
dangerous.
Oh,
Like
why?
if they're putting their if they're purposefully turning their tire blankets down so that he's got cold tires, that's a safety issue. If they're
But that's not the
purposefully,
issue. We're not talking about that. That's not
yeah,
a
we are
safety.
because
But it isn't. Oh, come on. Now, you can't do this.
Amar, it's not a
You're
come on.
going to extremes
We
now.
are doing
Even
that
now,
because
we're talking about
I'm not.
sabotage in what sense? Sabotage in letting him crash and risk his life, or sabotage in terms of winning
This is a
or not winning a
this
race?
is a sport in which you are a slave to physics ultimately, and if you start to play with physics to actively reduce the performance of one of your drivers, then that is dangerous to do that. So
Oh,
if
come
nothing else,
on,
why
man.
does it matter? That's why it matters.
No, no,
So
it does.
so I do want
Okay.
to
So now, okay, we're putting
so I do
different
want to move it on a
definitions.
little bit to whether he is
I
being
do want to move
sabotaged or
on.
not. But
I do
asking
want to
me
move on,
whether I
but
think that asking me whether or not I think that it's okay for him to be sabotaged is a
okay.
different question, and I
Okay,
don't
so
think it
wait a
is.
second. We're here now, right? We're here now. I define sabotage in the sense of a race result, not in terms of safety. I mean, what you're talking about is the equivalent of leaving a loose nut on a tire or something. That's a different thing altogether. And that's like a completely different conversation. We're talking about it in the sense of the picking their strategy in a way that favors George or not, or Lewis. Now, you guys can talk about what sabotage means in terms of Lewis being prioritized or not. It's a tomato situation. It's a vocabulary thing. Well, all I'm trying to say to you is if they prioritize George and if their ulterior motive with this was, well, we're going to let George jump Lewis and this is the way we're going to do this, sure. So what? So what? Okay. So what? What does it
Because
matter?
I've
Lewis Hamilton
well
is what?
again,
Where is he in the
let me answer
rankings?
that.
Where is
Let me
he in the
answer that
driver's rank?
question.
It's a
I
rhetorical
watch a
question, Chaz. It's a
well,
rhetorical
no, but it
question.
needs an answer because I watch a
Sorry, a
Formula One race.
response. It's not.
But I watch a Formula One race to see the best drivers in the world
Oh, come
absolutely
on.
drive at their best. So why would I want to watch a driver
Don't watch him.
being purposefully held
You take the
back?
Ben Sulayem route. You take the Max
Thanks,
Verstappen route with this. Just
thanks,
boycott
Karun
it.
Chandok. Thanks, Karun Chandok. But I'll decide whether
This
I watch
is
a
the
race or
most
not.
ridiculous thing that you have said. Let me just tell you one thing. It is pretty clear that Mercedes are moving in Georgia's direction and they're preparing for next year. They are firmly P4 in the standings, and no matter what they do from here on out, they're not going to go above or below that threshold. I don't even know where Lewis Hamilton is in the driver's standings. I'm guessing he's P5, P6. Who cares? He's not even going to be in the top three. He's not, yeah, he's not, he's definitely not going to be in the top three. We know that. He's not even going to be in the top five. Who cares? What does this matter? By the way, this is how relationships end. This has happened throughout history, throughout life, throughout business, throughout whatever civilizations. This you're seeing a breakup happen live in person where they're throwing shade at each other in public. Like this is amazing.
Prioritizing a driver doesn't mean hamstringing the other driver. It
But
means
they're not doing that. I mean, you seriously, I said that, but you don't believe that. Like we don't, I don't believe that either. Like I'm not doing that. Like I'm just giving
So
you a
now we're
rhetorical
talking about the
response.
so now we're answering the question. We're not answering the does it matter? Yes, it does matter. It
Okay, it does matter,
100%
but
matters
if they do,
if a
it's their
team is
prerogative,
act
though.
okay.
He could have left already.
Let's start this again because I think first of all the question of are they sabotaging and sabotage specifically means hamstringing one driver. Is that okay? I
Shez.
think if you ask any team, any fan down the grid, sabotaging your driver is not okay.
Okay,
And it is
okay.
something to care about.
Can we stop here for a second? Because you
Sure.
keep bringing up sabotage as if it's a word I coined. I did not coin that word, and I'm just trying to explain to you that the very fact that we bring up sabotage again for the second time this season is insulting to the rest of us. Let me just tell you that. It's also insulting to Lewis's legacy. It's insulting to Mercedes's legacy. It's insulting. There are no winners coming out of this. So it is shameful for the Lewis Hamilton fan base to come out here thinking sabotage in a season where they are, as a team, are irrelevant and he as a driver is irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. Throw it in the trash. Who cares? So my point is, when you
So
bring up sabotage, it elicits this response of like, what world are you guys living in? That's my response. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, what world are you in?
Okay, Ammar, explain it to me then.
Yes,
Explain to me the tire blankets being a bit too cold.
I can't.
Uh,
I can't explain
the
it. I can't explain it, Shez.
explain why they
Teams
stuck
make
him on
mistakes.
soft
Alex
tires.
Albon had an ice box behind us. They were sabotaging him then. But if that had happened to Lewis
But there's
Hamilton,
a
that wouldn't be a mistake. That would happen. So it's a matter of how you want to look at these
mm.
things, right? So
But
I can't
explain.
explain to the people who are in the call, Shez. Sorry, I know I'm talking over you here, but I can't explain to
You
people
are,
who will not take any other explanation, and they believe
but you're not
that a
actually
mistake
giving
can be a
me.
cult.
But you're not actually giving an answer other than you think.
I just
Okay,
gave
so
you an answer.
it's a mistake. Okay, so you're saying that,
No, no,
it's a
Shez,
series of
that's not what
mistakes that
I'm
have
saying.
happened.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
So
is
what are you saying then?
it can be sabotage, it can be mistake. It just depends
So
on
you
your
are saying it's
perspective.
sabotage. I don't understand.
Okay, hear me out. Let's do this again. The tires being 10 degrees cooler, right? Is that what you're saying, right? That incident and put the Alex Albon leaving the dry ice box in the vent in the back of the car, whatever it was. Those two incidents, what did we say? When it happened to Alex Albon, we said, "Oh my God, what an idiotic mistake!" Right? All my point to you is, if that had happened to Lewis Hamilton, the Lewis Hamilton fan base would have not said, "Oh my God, it's what a silly mistake. That's idiotic. Somebody should
Yeah.
get their wrist slap or maybe in fire. God knows." But that would have been, "Oh my God, Mercedes is sabotaging." It can genuinely be a mistake, is my point.
Hmm.
It could be sabotage. I have no earthly idea what they're doing. None of us do. But also just hear the stupidity in this argument, Shez, where now all of a sudden Mercedes has decided, oh, we're gonna screw Lewis Hamilton because he's going away, blah blah blah, as if it means anything.
So you don't think it's sabotage?
I don't think it's sabotage. I don't
Fine.
think an
Okay.
outfit like Mercedes would do that. Like that's
Okay.
ridiculous that you'd say
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Not you, but
Okay. So
whoever
let
said
me let me give the counter argument that actually, if it is within their power to do it, they could do it. And having Lewis finish behind George when George is the future of Mercedes, why is that not a good reason to
it.
have Lewis
What is
come
George
finish
finishing
behind?
ahead of? Like again, George, where does he stand in the standing? What are we talking about here?
It's a pretty big deal for George to
Has
finish ahead of a
this
seven-time world champion in his final
this
season at the
makes
team that he's
sense.
won six of his titles
Come
at.
on,
It's
you
quite a big
can't do
deal.
this. You're a savant. You have encyclopedic knowledge about formula. Don't do this. Don't stoop down to this level. Come on.
Then
This
respond.
argument,
Give me a
this,
good reason why I'm wrong.
this makes sense only if the two Mercedes drivers are in a Hamilton Rosberg situation where you can say, oh, they really want George to win the championship. Right now, Mercedes is playing for nothing. Absolutely nothing other than figuring out their damn car. And the reality of
Maybe
the story is
that's
they
why
were
Toto thinks
nowhere
he can
on
get
this
away with
weekend.
it.
Huh?
Maybe that's why Toto thinks he can get away with it
Okay,
because
get
they're
away. Sure. So what? I mean, honestly,
so again, you
honestly.
do
And
think
by
they're
the way, what Lewis
sabotaging him.
Hamilton said in public in that video, very cheeky of him too. Like he doesn't go scot-free on this. Like all of a sudden he's blaming it on the team. Like good God. Like oh, that's awfully convenient too. Like we can't. Like that's what I'm saying. There are no winners in this. The people who say they were sabotage are wrong. The people who say Lewis is 100% to blame for this are also wrong. You win and lose as a team, man. And I'm saying that I saw Charles Leclerc do what he did in Canada. I'm not sitting up here saying that he got sabotaged or like, come on, like these things
That
happen.
was pretty dumb though.
Okay, but those things happen in the midst of a season. In a
And,
season where,
and, and
again,
why is it that Lewis, the greatest qualifier of all time, over the course of this entire season, has been trounced by Kingsley Russell?
I don't
Like,
know. Ask Lewis. He said he has not done well in qualifying. These are his words, not mine. Like I don't.
but he's also said
I'm
maybe
not a
they've turned the
driver
engine
coach,
down. I
Shez. I mean,
can't
come
explain
on.
it.
Okay, but you can't. Oh, come on. Like, are you doing this for sure? Are you just trying to get me rattled up? Like this is stuff you should save for next year because that's kind of what we're doing. And to me, it's just mind-boggling, man. Lewis Hamilton fans, my God, sorry in advance. Leave me
Well, hey,
alone.
I am a
Please
Lewis
don't come
Hamilton
at
fan.
me.
Well,
Name
okay,
me one objective person outside of that sphere who said that.
so
Did Nico
Ammar,
Rosberg said that?
let's say I am saying it. I need you to give me a
But you're a Lewis
logical.
Hamilton fan. You're in bed with all of them. So, like, what are we
Yeah,
gonna do?
sure, but okay, fine.
Credibility matters, no?
You're telling me I have no credibility. That's
I'm
fair
not
enough.
saying that. I'm saying that relative to Nico
You've
Rosberg.
decided to do a podcast with me, but okay,
What does that say about me, no?
yeah, well, that's true. So maybe you're not qualified to give this answer then.
I'm
But
not.
I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt and say that you are as an objective fan. tell me why I'm wrong. Why is everything that's happened
But,
to Lewis Hamilton across this
okay, let
season
me let me
not
tell you,
evidence of him
I'm
of him
telling
being
okay,
sabotaged?
I'm telling you as a Lewis Hamilton fan, and right now
Hmm.
you are the symbol of the Lewis Hamilton cult. Maybe you're not like that every day, all day long, but you are right now. Let me sit you down like I sit down one of my kids and say, listen, you guys are acting like petulant brats. Like, come on, get a load of
You say
yourself.
that to your
Get
kids.
so in a similar way, not the same, but in a similar way, I need to sit you guys down and say, you guys have done a lot of winning over the last decade plus. You don't know what losing feels like, and losing feels like this. Okay, so calm it down. Get your head out of your asses
So
and
so
and,
so
and
Ammar,
just calm down.
what
Every
are you
time
saying?
something goes wrong
Okay.
doesn't mean it's sabotage. That's what
What are
I'm
you
saying.
so okay, so what are you saying?
It's
What
it's
what
it's
is the
either Lewis
reason that all
winning,
of these
it's
things have happened?
Shez, you guys are pretending like it's either Lewis winning or coming out ahead of George or it's sabotage. Like Shez, Lewis Hamilton cult fans. Okay, I hear you. Okay, but can I ask you for 1 second? For 1 second, just take a deep breath. Okay,
Done.
you might be a Lewis Hamilton fan from 2007 or 2008 when he actually won. You might be a new Lewis Hamilton fan, someone who has grown on the Drive to Survive generation of Formula One fans. You might have joined right before that too, when Lewis had a dominant string of championships, bar for 1 year where Nico Rosberg won the championship. Okay, let me explain something to you. As somebody who has followed Formula One drivers that have done a lot of losing since Kimi Raikkonen in 2007 and even before that, this is normal. Okay? This is normal. Teams make mistakes. Teams prioritize one driver or another. When a driver is outgoing towards the end of the season, they start to get phased out. So there might be more room for miscommunication, misunderstanding, blah, 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 blah.
Why is it always happening to Lewis though?
Yeah, it's only happening to Lewis because you guys are the biggest fan group that's making a lot of noise. I got to be real with you guys. Come on. Like,
It's
let's be
happening
real.
because we're making
It's,
a lot of noise.
yeah, but because
Explain that to me.
nobody else outside
Okay,
of your sphere,
but
Shez, cares about.
regardless of whether anybody cares, there is stuff tangibly that has happened.
Yes,
Why
but
is it
there have
always
been
happening to
mistakes made
Lewis?
by many teams. They made them. Do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys
but in
remember
this
when
team,
George
but
Russell
just in
was underweight,
Mercedes,
though? Do you guys
hey?
remember when George Russell was underweight?
Yeah, but that's
Right?
George's fault.
That
That
was
was
George
George's
and the
fault
team's fault.
for
It was both.
asking for some
It
ridiculous
was both.
strategy.
It was both fault. I mean,
That
enjoy
was
your
George's fault.
Silverstone win this year. That was a remarkable win. What are you guys doing? This is how you want to see out Lewis Hamilton's term. It doesn't mean a thing.
I don't
This
want
it
to.
means
Mercedes are
nothing
doing
other
it
than
to him. Why are
having.
they sabotaging
They
his
are not
results, man?
sabotaging him. Yeah, honestly, guys. Like I'm gonna try to reason with you, but you gotta grow up, okay? Like really, every team down up and down the paddock has made mistakes. Even Max Verstappen will tell you that Red Bull has made mistakes this year. Even Lando Norris, we can pick any driver across the field. Across how many races have we had now, Shez? Is it 17, 18? What is it? 16? Whatever the number is. There are mistakes that's going to happen.
18. Sorry, I should
Okay,
have answered that
18. Yeah,
question.
correct. All right, I know because someone's going to correct me on that. Whatever it is, the number, hell of a lot of races. Okay, stuff is happening. Let me also put something into context. The bigger issue is that Mercedes are nowhere. They're nowhere. And so
Ah,
maybe, just maybe, if I'm trying to get into the minds of them, they were trying something unconventional that looks completely ridiculous. Guess who's
oh
tried
yeah.
it earlier this year? Ferrari coming out of Monaco. They have tried unconventional stuff when they were out of position, when they felt like they had to do something there. Teams make mistakes. Some of them can be incredibly stupid, but that doesn't mean that they are sabotaging Lewis Hamilton.
But this, why
Let
does
me
this seem
tell
to
you one
happen
final
all the
thing.
time, Omar? Why is
Yeah,
it
no,
that
it's
always?
not happening all the time because
Why is
it's
it?
only
Why is it that
happening.
whenever Lewis suggests something, they tell
Yeah.
him to do something
Well,
different, and then
also
it just
Lewis is
worked
not a
out badly
baby.
for Lewis?
And here's what you guys need to take. Let's take some humble pie or humble pill right now, okay? Lewis is a seven-time world champion. He has considerable say in the team. So I refuse to believe for 1 second that they actually tied his hands and said, "No, go sit in the car and we're going to put soft tires on because that's what you're going to do and you're not going to complain about it." No one did that.
That's what he
Yes, there
said.
might have been back and forth. Yes, there might have been disagreements. By the way, what Lewis Hamilton did by outing the team out in public, not a good look. Not a good look. It might be the case, but not a good look. You got to call it for what it is. Not a grown-up attitude. That seemed very petulant, okay? He could have been frustrated in the post-race comments. I don't blame drivers for it. They're just coming off of the back of a grueling race. They say whatever. But he said this a day later, so he had ample of time for debrief, for conversation, for all of that, for cool down to come back and say that. So not a good look.
Okay, let's come back down to earth. So this was not a good look for Mercedes. None of it was, but it's all part and parcel of the same thing ultimately, right? That as you say, you win as a team and you lose as a team. And I guess what I don't know is how many times Lewis has in a debrief disagreed with the entire team, and they've said do this thing, and he said no 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 I want to do this thing, and they've said no 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 just do this thing. We have all the data in front of us, Lewis. Trust us. He's gone and done it, and it's paid him back because we have seen that happen on track more than once. So it's not it probably stands to reason that there's more than one occurrence where he has disagreed. The team have told him to do something and it has worked in his favor. This just didn't. This this was a situation in which he was right. And perhaps we could also sit there on the grid when everybody else is on mediums and he's on softs, go, yeah, well, that looks like a dumb move, but there was some logic behind it. They explained that to us. Toto clearly said we were looking at historical data. We were expecting a safety car. We were perhaps expecting Lewis to get past Max plus minus Lando off the start, but it just didn't work out. That for me doesn't mean sabotage. That's a team that after a summer break before which they won 3 out of 4 races, they've turned up and taken a massive nosedive in relation to their nearest competitors, trying some stuff to see if it sticks. Why they put it on Lewis's car when he was the lead driver, that honestly I can't understand that. It just doesn't make sense to me. But there was probably a reason, and sabotage, I don't think, was the reason for that. And all of the other stuff that we have talked about in the past, the tire blankets. Well, here's Charles Leclerc talking about his tire blankets being too cold before he came out of the Singapore pits on Saturday. You want to talk about his about Lewis's qualifying when he talked about his engine mode being turned down. Well, I can't see a reason why you would turn down one of your driver's engines when you're in the middle of a constructors championship. Why would you do that? Especially at a time when actually those points could make a difference to where you finish up in the title at the end of it. And that doesn't even start to talk about Lewis himself admitting that he has not been good enough in qualifying this season. That's not my words, they're his words. I need to do better in qualifying. It's not been a good area for me this year. So when you put all of that together, yes, you could look at it at a very superficial level and say, "Oh, Lewis is having a bad season. He's a 7-time world champion, and this is a championship winning team. They must be sabotaging him." Or you could look a bit deeper at the nuance of it and try and understand from a more from a less Lewis centric point of view why these things might be happening. And I think even Lewis has not out and out said, I think the team is sabotaging me. In fact, if you listen to what he is saying, more often than not, the words that come out of his mouth are, we need to learn about what's happened, or I need to do better. That's been the story of the season for me. And it's been a learning one for both of them, I think. Anyway, that's where I put it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You made all salient points without getting worked up. I would just add that using the word sabotage willy-nilly is a very bad thing. Formula One teams, no matter, even if you're a back marker, you have no incentive to tank. There is nothing you get out of it. These teams work day in and out, night after night, second, millisecond, hours, days, whatever you want to call it. They're trying to gain every inch of advantage. I mean, we just got done talking about the mini DRS not too long ago. I mean, look at that. Well, these are teams trying to find every loophole that they can to win. So the idea that they would just go out there and sabotage Lewis Hamilton or anyone is just really bad. And it's also, by the way, because we talk about DEI a lot, this is a bad thing to do with the only black driver on the grid. Like, we have a responsibility as Lewis Hamilton fans. We have a responsibility to not just throw things out like that, because when serious stuff happens, No one's going to take us seriously. Just to accuse an outfit like Mercedes, by the way, that have been the class of Formula One forever now, for at least the last couple of decades, is just reckless, Shez. It just is. And it's a really lazy
Well, yeah,
argument to come out.
it is disrespectful. I agree with that. I think yeah, basically telling an entire workforce that they are trying to
It's
bring
insulting.
down a driver is a little bit disrespectful. That I think is probably where we're going to have to leave it. As usual, guys, let us know what you think. This was just a slightly emergency recording because this came out this morning. But as usual, please like, please subscribe, please leave us a comment. We read all of them and we respond to as many as we possibly can. We will see you guys in the next one.